Hey bakers, John Cannell from Preppy Kitchen here. Today we're making one of my most requested recipes. I finally have it all done for you. It's a tres leches cake. Light as air, fluffy cake, completely saturated with those tres leches, and then topped with a chantilly cream. Let's get started. First off, we're gonna sift all of our dry ingredients directly into the bowl of our stand mixers. Starting off with 3 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour, or 450 grams. Next, we have 2 1/4 cups of sugar, or 480 grams. Really generous with the pours here. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1, 2, and 2 teaspoons of salt. This is a big cake. When I was recipe testing this, I made it a giant sheet cake so it could be really nice and thick with all of that tres leches soaked in there. It's gonna be so delicious. Now carefully sift this out, it's a lot. Let me give my scale a break. Okay, avoided some giant lumps of sugar, that's nice. We're gonna give this a quick whisk and now set this aside in our stand mixer, ready to go. For the wet ingredients, I have 1/3 of a cup of sour cream, that's 80 milliliters if you're counting it out that way. If you don't have sour cream, plain yogurt is fine. You could even sub in buttermilk instead. This cake is pretty forgiving. 1 1/2 cups of whole milk, carefully in there. Clean that up. 1 tablespoon of a nice vanilla extract. Smells so good. This is Mexican vanilla, which is actually different from the Tahitian vanilla and the other varieties. Each one is a little bit different. And this is Nielsen Massey, and one of the best gifts I ever got relating to vanilla was a little pack of every different kind of vanilla from this brand, and you could just taste the difference and smell them. It was really interesting. Each one of them is nice. Now we're gonna have 8 egg whites in here. This cake is gonna be a nice, beautiful, light colored cake, even though I added that dark vanilla in there. So we're using egg whites, and do not use fake vanilla or clear vanilla. That's actually vanillin, which is an artificial extract. Just go for the real stuff, and if you're really bothered by the darker color, skip it, and it'll be more of a traditional tres leches cake. Also, you could add in a little bit of almond extract instead of the vanilla if you're worried about that light color. That was for another recipe. We're actually gonna make that later today, but I had to do a bit of prep. We're gonna be making edible cookie dough. Delicious. So, back to this. And 8 eggs, so many. But I tell you, it's a giant cake. These yolks are perfect for making pastry cream for. You can click up here for that. Just whip a batch up. You can keep it in the fridge for a couple days, and it is amazing in tarts and eclairs directly over here. Delicious. Keep these. All right, give this a quick whisk. You can even just do this directly into a blender, by the way, and just blend it up. Very satisfying. That's what I did yesterday. That's fine. Now we're going to deal with our dry ingredients again. So for this recipe, we're using 17 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temperature. We're gonna add it into our flour, like a tablespoon dollop at a time, but you don't have to wait. You can just add them in a bunch of groups. And what's gonna happen is this flour will be coated with all the fat from the butter, and it will inhibit the gluten formation and give you a wonderful, nice crumb, very moist. And it's gonna moisturize your little fingers too. This is called the reverse crumb method, and I love it. It's so easy to do too. Okay, let's give this a start. On low. So add the rest of the butter in, and you're gonna find that it forms like this almost pastry dough-like crumble of just little pieces. It needs to go for a bit longer though. Also scrape the bowl down a bit to make sure that nothing's getting hidden at the bottom. It smells good already. I eat pastry dough raw all the time. I don't mind it. All right, that looks good to me. What we're gonna do now is finish our batter off by pouring in the wet mixture, half first, scrape the bowl down, add the second half. Oof, okay. On low, add half in, let it mix up. Just check the bowl, make sure nothing bad is happening. Okay, and add the rest in. Okay, let's see. Beautiful, nice, smooth dough. I'm gonna finish it off just by hand to make sure there's no lumps hanging out around here or there. That's ready to pour into our prepared pan. I'm using a 9x13 baking pan. I will be lining this with parchment paper though. It makes a big difference. It's so much easier to get out and you have a little bit less caramelization. Although, not gonna lie, we are trimming this cake. I want no crusts on it. Ultimate indulgence. To get a nice fit for my parchment paper, I'm just gonna cut at the corners. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Give it a preliminary fold. This is optional, but I really find it comes in handy. Okay, now flip the pan over, add that back in there, and you'll see what happens. You can just fold the corners, and it's all nice and neat. All my Virgo feelings are coming up. Nice. Now pour your batter in. This batter smells so good, I can't even tell you. Using a nice vanilla makes a huge difference. Although I know it's very expensive right now. Now give it a shake. We're gonna bake this at 350 Fahrenheit, 177 Celsius for about, I think 40 minutes. Just check on it, let a skewer come out clean, and it's gonna be ready to go. Into the oven. What takes a tres leches cake to the next level is of course the tres leches. We're gonna use 3/4 cup of whole milk. This is up to you. You can add a little bit more or a little bit less if you want to be sweeter or milkier. A 12 fluid ounce can of evaporated milk and 14 ounces of this magical sweetened condensed milk. This is what I have in my coffee when I'm feeling extra indulgent. Like, I don't care if the pants fit. I want to be happy. Just not how I'm feeling this week. But I miss it. It's so good. I have it with my espresso and then add some of this in, a little bit of milk, and it's like a Vietnamese coffee, but taken down a notch. Now let's give it a whisk and set it aside. But you really do want to whisk it together, otherwise the sweetened condensed milk will just kind of lay on the bottom. It's very thick. This stuff tastes like heaven, and if you want, you can add vanilla to this as well, but it's totally up to you. I'm gonna leave it out because I feel like this is the star. It's kind of like a fior di latte gelato, where you're just tasting the milk. Like, if the milk is extra good, you can taste it coming through. I ate so much gelato in Rome and I miss it so much. Take me back. I'm gonna use my extra nice serrated knife and deal with this cake. Normally, you know, I use cake strips. I don't have to do any cutting, but today things are gonna be a little different. So I'm gonna invert this onto a wire rack. It's already cool. Clank. So here, you don't have to trim it. You could leave it just like this, but I think the cake is so beautiful when you can see it just with just the crumb showing. Like, it's gorgeous and very slippery. I'm not gonna make the same mistake I made with my vanilla cake. Just baked. It's like a Goldilocks situation. That was not cool. Okay, take that away. Let's just cut the edges off if you want to. I also feel like visually a tres leches cake is supposed to be like very milky white. That's why I didn't use the egg yolks. I wanted to be true to the materials, i.e. the different milks. And now, do you want to be crazy? I do. You don't have to, but this will be extra absorbent if you take this top off. Because of the paper we used, most of that caramelization is actually gone on the paper. But we could do a little bit more and have a nice, beautiful cake. Now we have all of our beautiful cake exposed, so pillowy soft. That's gonna be for snacking. I'm not throwing it away. Here's where things get different. I'm gonna place this in a large dish very, very carefully. There we go. So if you didn't want to cut the crust off, that's totally fine. You can just pierce it with a fork over and over and over again, and you can still do that even after you cut the crust off to make more room for the tres leches. Otherwise, you just have to pour really slowly so the cake absorbs it. All right, let's get started. This is the good part. Just go slow. The cake is gonna be like a sponge. but it's not as absorbent as you want, so you have to give it some time. Don't rush it. This is the important part. Some will leak over onto the sides, don't worry about that. It'll still get absorbed through the bottom. Yeah, it is moist. It's like sopping wet. Just how I like it. This is my husband's nightmare. He hates it. He's like, this is disgusting. He likes fluffy supermarket cakes. For the frosting, we're adding in 3 cups of heavy cream. 1, 2, 3. Whoa, that's a lot. And then half a cup of confectioner sugar. The confectioner sugar has some cornstarch in it, which will help thicken the whipped cream up. I'm adding in like a little bit less than half a cup, and I can add a bit more if I want to. Mix it up until you get those nice, soft, beautiful peaks. We're almost there, let's take a look. You don't want to overbeat whipped cream. That's nice. I'm gonna add in the rest, so I get to my almost half cup. And now a splash of vanilla. You can leave it up to kind of however much you want. Continue mixing it up. We're almost there. Okay, that looks good. Yeah. Any more and it would be too far, but this is just right. You might know this about me, but I'm disgusting and will eat all of this. I'm adding in an 8.8 ounce or 250 gram container of room temperature mascarpone cheese. And I'm gonna actually put it into a little bowl first and just give it a quick mash to make sure it's all pliable. Some of it gets a little bit, I don't want to say lumpy, but it has a thicker texture in parts. So now I'm gonna fold the mascarpone cheese into my whipped cream. This is an optional step. You don't have to do it, but I love how it thickens the whipped cream up and just adds a little bit, like the tiniest bit of tang to it. So fold that in by hand. Okay, this is just gonna go on top. I'm gonna use a scoop, but you could just plop it on however you want. Now you can smooth it all out. Using the ice cream scoop is kind of just fun, but it also helps you control kind of the thickness of the icing and the placement. And once you're ready, you can give it like a final little smooth. Look at all that whipped cream, so amazing. So let's cut a piece, and then carefully take it out. The first one is of course the most difficult, but since we switched to a bigger container, it's much easier. Transfer it over. This will be delicious, but I gotta tell you, it looks a little plain, so I'm gonna garnish it with a tiny strawberry, and then fan the strawberry pieces out. Place them on top, along with a sprig of mint. There you go. All right, I think that looks darling, and it is time for a taste. Oh my gosh. It's so light and creamy, and the cake is fall apart tender thanks to all the tres leches. It's so good. A perfect balance of sweetness. It is an amazing cake. This has actually been one of my most requested cake recipes. So many people have been asking for tres leches, but I wanted to get it perfect for you, and I hope you get to make this recipe. If you like this video, check out my how to make vanilla cake. It is the perfect vanilla cake, and it is so easy too. You will fall in love with that recipe. Thanks so much for watching. If you like my videos, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. See you soon.